Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending the Wine to Water event. Please join me in recognizing Perry Purcell for his support of the Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Award. As a token of our appreciation, Perry, we'd like to present you with this print from Wes Skiles himself. Thank you.
Thank you. This is really awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to be a sponsor this year for the Wine to Water event and Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Award. It honors those water heroes that are really doing great things in the community and be an example of good water stewardship to all of us.
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, join me as we thank Kip Harrison and Capital City Bank for sponsoring the Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Awards. Thank you, Kip, and we'd like to present you with this beautiful plaque.
Thank you, Diane. Myself and Capital City Bank has always been a very big supporter of Rotary clubs and all the fantastic events and causes that they support. We've also been a very big supporter of the Wine to Water event. I think it's a great cause, and I've always loved the photography that Wes Skiles did with the recognition plaques you've given us. I want to thank you again for this plaque.
Well, thank you for being a sponsor.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Tessa Skyles. We would like to thank the Gainesville Rotary Club for hosting the 8th Annual Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Awards. We appreciate all of the hard work and creativity it took to hold this year's event digitally. This is a wonderful way to remember Wes and continue his legacy through education and recognizing local efforts to protect our waterways. Thank you.
This picture, it's a memory. It's a beautiful day with a special someone with a great smile. This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door, beautifully printed directly on glass, with everything you need to display it on your wall. A picture is a discovery. A picture is a triumph, and a feeling, and a connection. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit fractureme.com and print one today.
Hey y'all, we are at the springs, the coolest of the Florida things. It's nature at its best, and all you locals know you can't resist a dip into the water. You'll be swimming like an otter, cause you know that here in Florida, in the summer it gets so much hotter.
My name is David, and my passion is unswerving, but I'm here to talk about something a little bit unnerving. The aquifer is hurting, and the water that is squirting is declining in quality, and it's very disconcerting.
What? You really thought we were gonna write a rap about the springs and not talk conservation? Then you don't know us. These are complicated problems. There's no easy way to solve them, but with science we can fix it, and it's time that we get started.
But Brett and I aren't scientists. We don't do numbers very well, so here's our friend Zoe. Zoe, time for some show and tell.
Yo, 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 when you talk about the springs and you say you're the kings, well, you better cover these 3 things. Gravity is pulling down through the ground all the nitrogen and fertilizer we don't want to drink. And your water comes from somewhere, don't care, we throw away 2 billion gallons every day. Get to the truth, give people proof, and in November we'll see you in the voting booth.
Think about the drops you drink, what comes out of your sink. We're coming at you with a plan, so let's take a righteous stand.
It's a very simple message, and we're trying to explain it. We got all our friends together in the hopes that you retain it.
There's one tiny thing you take away, one little thing to do. Remember water when you vote, it all comes down to you. Think about the drops you drink, what comes out of your sink. We're coming at you with a plan, so let's take a righteous stand.
Hello from my home near Chicago. This is Bill Kurtis. Welcome to the Rotary Club of downtown Gainesville and the 2020 Wine to Water Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Awards. Besides being a radio and TV journalist, I love to explore the Florida Springs. So let's dive in with a clip filmed by our friend Wes Skiles.
It's the greatest groundwater system on Earth. There's not another aquifer on the planet like the Floridan Aquifer. We can make a difference. We can change the negative direction the water quality and quantity is going, but we just have to put a little effort into it.
Tonight is an evening of awards, recognizing those who are continuing the good work that Wes started and sharing some exciting news. To guide us through the rest of our program, let me turn it over to our hosts, Joe and Chessie, members of the Rotary Club of downtown Gainesville.
Thanks, Bill, and hello to everyone watching from around Florida, the country, and the world. Wes Skiles was a regular speaker at our club, and we were always excited to see his photography and hear his enthusiasm as he spoke to us about the springs.
So how did this event start, Joe?
Well, due to Wes's influence and the fact that our club is surrounded by the largest collection of freshwater springs in the world, we adopted a water theme, which is actually consistent with one of Rotary International's key missions, clean water. And so with this focus, we now are here at the 8th Wine to Water Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Awards.
Sounds like a great time to hear from Rotary International.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans, cure disease, and create equality. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. We're changing lives and creating opportunities through our groundbreaking work in clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Our global grants help communities create and maintain water resources close to home, because when clean water is within a child's grasp, so is a safe and promising future. We're committed to supporting sanitation projects that meet the needs of women and girls. Our programs provide modern facilities and hygiene training to cultivate long-term health and wellness. From safe access to water to private toilets and programs to teach healthy habits, we're working in homes, clinics, and schools to help families live healthy lives. Rotary Club members unite to create a world where water, sanitation, and hygiene are cornerstones of self-confidence and dignity, well within the reach of families who need it most. With more than a century of experience in service, Rotary is uniquely positioned to meet the challenges of today and fulfill the promise of a peaceful, healthy tomorrow. Your contribution to the Rotary Foundation keeps families connected to a world of good. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes across classrooms, communities, and continents. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
The Rotary Club of Downtown Gainesville is a diverse group of awesome people.
Hey!
Like us, devoted to making the world a better place through friendship, work, and service. If you would like to know more about our club or join us, check out our Facebook page or website listed below.
Now, what do you say, Chessie, that we inform our audience that all of the proceeds of this event are going to support the creation of an extraordinary and expansive new exhibit at the Florida Museum of Natural History called The Story of Florida Water?
That's right, Joe. Our surprise panel of experts are going to share a vision with you of what that exhibit is going to look like and ask for you to join Rotary and our event sponsors by making a pledge to help build the exhibit. 100% of your donation will go to support this important educational opportunity.
Now hold your bubbles there, my friend. Because before we reveal slides of what this amazing walk, ride, and dive through the springs is going to look like, we have to thank our sponsors and introduce this year's Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Award winners.
It would not be possible to produce this show and award our winners without the support of our sponsors. The sponsors for tonight's event are Capital City Bank, Fracture, Perry Purcell Caldwell Banker Commercial Real Estate, WRUF, First Magnitude, Scuba Monkey Dive Center, Alchemy Designs, and our title sponsors, Gainesville Regional Utilities, Jenny Springs. We hope you will join these wonderful sponsors with your own pledge of support towards the creation of the new, inspiring, and educational exhibit.
Now, without further delay, let's have the envelope for our first winner. Chessie, now what is that?
This is a sample ballot, Joe. Just to remind you, if you have not voted already, get out and vote on Tuesday.
An excellent reminder. Thank you. Now, let's have our first winner.
All right.
In the for-profit category, our winner is Adventure Outpost and owner Lars Anderson.
For the nearly 20 years, Lars Anderson has been a full-time river guide for Adventure Outpost, outfitter and guide service he owns in High Springs, Florida. He leads several tours each week, which give a full representation of North Florida's rich diversity of wetlands and aquatic habitats. He's also an author, his best-known work being the book Payne's Prairie History and Guide. In 2016, Lars helped shepherd ACT's Springs Ambassadors campers down the rivers and the springs and the streams of north-central Florida, where he delivered his own special brand of historical, geological, and hydrologic knowledge to middle school campers from all over the state, thereby connecting them in a visceral way to our imperiled natural Florida and its ever more threatened waterways. He is the former recipient of the Unsung Hero Award presented by Florida Defenders of the Environment. Lars' mission is to have the rivers be part of people's lives, therefore, something they want to protect and care about. Congratulations, Lars, and Adventure Outpost.
The Rotary Club of Downtown Gainesville would like to present this Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Award to you, as well as a check for $500. And thank you for everything that you do to keep our waters clean.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And thank you to the Rotary Club for this award. I'm especially honored that it's in Wes Skiles' name. He was a friend of ours and a mentor for me. His research with the springs and the underground aquifer has just taught all of us Floridians a lot about our waterways and everything going on with the springs and the aquifer. And he's helped me be smarter on my tours too. He's given me a lot to talk about on my tours. But Wes also was one of the early people 20-some years ago when Patsy, my wife, and I started this business, who really understood the mission of our business of really wanting to take local people out on these rivers rather than tourists from other places, even though we love the tourists and love to show off our springs and our waterways to the tourists. The real mission and the real theme of our business has always been to take locals out to teach them about our waterways and make them sort of foster their connections to these waterways and make them better stewards of the waterways. So it's a real honor to have this in Wes Skiles' name. And in fact, the last time I saw Wes, we met at a water rally in Tallahassee, and he said we just need to get together and put our businesses together and work together to educate. And that was the last time I talked to him. So maybe in some odd way, this is a nice sort of carrying forth of that dream, I guess. But anyway, thank you very much for this award.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our second honoree in the nonprofit category is
Kings of the Springs.
Kings of the Springs, KOTS, began as two close friends, Brent Fannin and David Cobiella, who enjoyed exploring springs and sharing their adventures with the world. As they visited more springs, they quickly realized they were at threat and jumped into action. The two friends put themselves out there to learn from the experts. This knowledge instilled a new sense of responsibility for these treasures, and they quickly decided it was time to act. In 2017, KOTS organized its first ever springs cleanup with only a few volunteers. Flash forward. 2019, Kings of the Springs became a registered nonprofit, and as of January 2020, they have hosted more than 35 cleanups, putting over 300 volunteers to work, educated the public at more than a dozen events, and published over 40 videos, highlighting the springs, their wildlife, and how to protect and preserve those precious resources. Congratulations, Kings of the Springs, and be sure to visit their website to see how you can help with the next project.
The Rotary Club of Downtown Gainesville is so happy to be able to present this award to you for the work you have done to keep our springs clean. I would like to present this award to you and also this check in thanks for everything that you do in your continuing effort to keep our springs clean. So congratulations. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, on behalf of David and I, our board, and over 100 volunteers, we want to say thank you for recognizing us. I know everyone really puts their heart and soul into what we do, and they believe in it. So it feels great to be recognized. Thank you very much.
And I'd like to say to our audience, if you see our videos online, there's no barrier between you and what we do. So come on out and be a part of what we're doing and volunteer and have a good time cleaning up the springs. It's a lot of fun.
Our final honoree is in the individual category and is Casey Fitzgerald.
Since 2012, Casey has served as the Director and Initiative Leader for the Springs Protection Initiative at the St. Johns River and Water Management District. He has developed and implemented, in collaboration with the district's executive management team and Springs Protection Corps team, an initiative to develop and coordinate the protection and restoration of major springs. His nominator states that, "I always knew him as a proactive, smart advocate for the science and policy needed to move our state's approach to water forward. He was always thoughtful and thorough, taking the time to listen and to find the balance between what are often extreme differences of opinion. He brings his great skills of communication to bear when working to find points of agreement and paths forward. It is not easy, and he has not chosen the easy route. He is not one-sided, but brings together scientists, advocates, businesses, and diverse interests in order to work to forge lasting approaches and agreements to our incredibly complex water issues." Sounds like my friend Wes Skiles.
Casey, the Rotary Club of Downtown Gainesville would like to present this award to you. It's the Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Award for your continued good work in trying to keep us with clean water. This is the award.
Thank you.
And we also have a $500 check
Wow.
to thank you for all the good work that you do. So congratulations. And is there anything you'd like to say?
I would like to say something. Of course, I'd like to thank you, Diane, and the Downtown Gainesville Rotary Club for this award. It's especially an honor for me because I got to work with Wes Skiles on what I consider his best river journey adventure, which was a film about the St. Johns River and the restoration work that's been done there. And working with Wes was, of course, a unique experience because he was such a unique talent and unique character. Beyond that, I'd like to commend the Rotary Club for its work on water resources, its focus there. And along those lines, I'd actually like to return this $500 check back to the Rotary Club in support of the Florida water story that you all are helping to revitalize at the Natural History Museum. So thank you very much and continued luck with your good works.
Thank you, Casey. That is very wonderful. Thanks for this one. This will go toward the museum.
Great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Adventure Outpost, Kings of the Springs, and Casey Fitzgerald. They join a list of wonderful past winners who honor the spirit of conservation and education that so many of us care about.
We now have the privilege to be among the first members of the public to see the vision of the story of Florida water, the exciting new exhibit to be added to the Florida Museum of Natural History. Bill, would you like to introduce our panelists?
It would be my pleasure, Chessie. Our first panelist is last year's Wes Skiles Individual Award winner, Tom Morris. Tom is a cave diver, biologist, educator, adventurer, with a bachelor's and master's degree in wildlife biology and botany from the University of Florida. Wes and Tom were lifelong diving partners. They filmed documentaries involving springs in several countries, both above and below water, always emphasizing the protection of natural resources. He's a quick wit. As he was going down one hole, he yelled back up to me on the surface and said, "I'll see you in hell, Bill." And I said, "Tom, it's a good day to die." Oh, it's that kind of diver humor. I apologize. Dr. Kenny Broad joins us from Miami, where he is a professor in the Marine Ecosystems and Society Department. He also serves as the director of the Leonard and Jane Abbess Center for Ecosystem Science and Policy, University of Miami, and co-director, Center for Research on Environmental Decisions, Columbia University. He was the expedition leader for the National Geographic Exploration, Mapping, and Outreach in the Bahamas Blue Holes National Park, and combined with Wes's award-winning National Geo magazine cover shot and photos, the two of them were awarded the first Co-Explorers of the Year by the National Geographic Society. Our youngest panelist is Tessa Skyles. Tessa, daughter of Wes and Terry Skiles, has lived her entire life around and in the springs. She followed her dad on many expeditions, learning firsthand about our springs and operating a camera. Combining her hands-on knowledge and her graphic design degree has enabled her to work with both the Smithsonian's Waterways Expedition and the story of Florida water that you are going to hear about tonight. Welcome, Tessa. And now I would like to introduce Darcy Mcmahon, our keynote speaker. Darcy has worked in the museum field for over 25 years, much of it at the Florida Museum of Natural History. She began her career as an archaeologist, but realized her passion was communicating science to public audiences. After many years leading the Florida Museum's exhibition programs, she currently oversees the museum's overall public experience, from exhibitions and educational programming to butterflies and gift shops.
Thank you so much, Bill, and thank you, Rotary, and everybody for being here tonight. I'm really excited to bring you a little behind-the-scenes look at this project, which is an extreme makeover of our oldest exhibit hall into the story of Florida water. And the way this came about was the current exhibit hall is more than 20 years old, and as we celebrated its 20th anniversary, we realized that we really needed to upgrade the infrastructure, refresh the story, and in asking ourselves what should that story be about, we decided that since we're the State Museum, we felt an obligation to feature the story of Florida water in a more prominent way than we've done before. And so we're turning this entire 5,000 square foot experience into the story of water. It is located right behind where I'm standing now, right behind the mammoth. So if you've been at the museum before, you know it's the first thing you see when you walk in. It's completely free, so there's no barrier to participation at all. And you walk in. I think I'll show you a floor plan now. And that floor plan is like you're looking down on the exhibit. So if you can see, the entrance here is, we come in, currently you come into a hammock forest, but what we're doing in the renovation is you'll be walking into a state park cabin, and that will be introducing the story of water. You'll see windows that are actually media screens, and they will be showcasing a rainstorm. Then you'll walk out of the cabin, you'll go into a forest floodplain, and then you will continue on into a cave, which is the existing cave that will be refreshing. And as you walk out of the cave, you'll go into what we're calling the water lab, and then a springs gallery experience, and finally what we're calling the recharge lounge. So that's just kind of a big overview, and now I'm going to walk you through piece by piece. The way that we came about this design concept is we worked with a big team of individuals, exhibit designers, media designers, lighting designers, and then a lot of scientists and a lot of stakeholders, both from the museum and from the University of Florida. So a lot of the museum scientists, the Florida Water Institute, the Florida Springs Institute, the Florida Park Service, Florida Geological Survey, so the county, the city, there were a lot of stakeholders engaged, and a big thanks to all of them for participating in this project and helping us arrive at this newly designed concept.
I love coming into the museum and running into that big old mammoth right off the bat. You know, Florida is probably the best place in North America for finding Pleistocene mammal bones. All of the fossil hunters know that, and they go to places like the Peace River and look along the river bottoms to find these things. In fact, as a cave diver, I run across some of this stuff too. In fact, I know where there's a 6-foot-long mammoth tusk back in the cave. I don't touch it, I just look at it, I leave it alone, and I don't tell anybody where it is.
Okay, so we're going to do a quick walkthrough of the exhibit and what it's going to be like. And first we're going to go into that intro cabin that I mentioned, and we can look at the rendering, the exhibit design of what that's going to look like. So as you see, you'll be walking into what is kind of like a state park cabin. And this is where we introduce the story of Florida water. We talk about the water cycle, and there's actually a rainstorm going on at the time. So you'll hear in audio, and the windows of the cabin will be showing a rainstorm. So right away, you're immersed in the story of Florida water. Then you're going to walk out into the hammock forest, and that's where I'm standing now. It's the existing hammock forest, But we will be really refreshing this space. We'll be adding theatrical lighting, again, a whole audioscape, soundscape, so that when you come out, it's kind of like that rainstorm that you heard in the cabin is lifting and getting lighter, and the birds are starting to sing, and the sun is coming out. So again, you'll be really immersed in that story of Florida water, the water that comes from rain, goes down into the ground, percolates down into our limestone aquifer under our feet.
I really like the idea of the state park cabin to enter the exhibit. When you walk into one of those cabins, it's kind of like leaving the paved road and going onto a dirt road. There's a change of pace and a change of mood, and it kind of opens you up to new perspectives and new ways of looking at things.
So next we walk into the cave, and this, if you've been to the museum, you've seen the cave. The cave is very iconic for the museum, and it is not going anywhere. It's actually concrete and rebar, and it's tied into the structure of the building. But it turns out that it's the perfect platform for talking about the karst geology that underpins Florida, and this unique sort of Swiss cheese stone that's mostly beneath our feet. Occasionally it pops up above ground, just like our cave. And that is where our drinking water supply comes from. So the rain coming from the sky, percolating down into that limestone karst geology beneath our feet.
You know, you're right about the dry cave exhibit being one of the most popular things over the years in the museum. The kids absolutely love it. You know, some kids are afraid to go into it. They have to be coaxed in. And then others don't want to leave. You got to drag them out of it. In fact, a lot of parents will just leave their kids in there while they go check out the rest of the museum. Fill that cave full of water, and what we're talking about is the Floridan Aquifer.
Thinking back about the cave, one of the biggest challenges of the design meetings, at least the ones that I attended, was deciding how best to create that underwater atmosphere without compromising the overall structure of the existing cave. Though the cave does a really great job of transporting you underground, we still needed to communicate the connection between the cave and the water that percolates down through the ceilings of those caves, joining our groundwater. This stage of the water cycle is one of the hardest to teach. It's out of sight, out of mind. We can see clouds and rain, streams and rivers, but how often do we have the opportunity to see, let alone explore this part of the water cycle?
So as you come out of the cave, you come into what we're calling the water lab. And this is a very hands-on, interactive space where we'll feature a lot of objects from the museum's collections. And there will be experiences such as a cross-section of an aquifer that you can interact with, and film footage on touch screens that will give you an experience like you're cave diving through the Florida Aquifer.
I love the interactive element, Darcy. Yeah, from an evolutionary perspective, we are, as humans, trial and error learners, but it's really hard for us to envision that invisible world where our groundwater flows. It's out of sight, out of mind. It's a concept that's really difficult for most people to grasp even. So, exception, of course, is if you're cave diving, but since it's not an activity most rational people can or really want to partake in, this exhibit is it's an amazing opportunity to bring to life this inner space. And it's a place on Earth that's so crucial for our health and well-being. And we don't want to wait until we experience more pollution and groundwater depletion and all the other challenges to get people to pay attention to this finite resource. Let's get them into the museum so they can connect emotionally to this threatened ecosystem and then make the right decisions on land as individuals or as they make their policy choices. Awesome.
And Kenny, that's exactly why we want to tell this story. What we're going to talk about now is the Springs Gallery, and I think that this is a place where Floridians in particular can really connect to the story of Florida water. So in this gallery, we'll be featuring a lot of objects from our collections, the human history, the biological, natural history, of the springs. And then the real showpiece is a glass bottom boat theater. And this is patterned after the glass bottom boats at Silver Springs. If you've ridden those, you know what they're like. And as you walk on, you will sit down and look down as though you're on a glass bottom boat, but what you'll be seeing is film of springs. And we will be able to feature healthy springs, we'll be able to feature challenge springs, and it's kind of like a magic boat. So this boat will be able to fly above the springs and you'll be able to see the whole spring run. It may dive into the springs, it may even dive into the cave systems in the aquifer. So this magic boat experience will be narrated by a kind of like a traditional narrator on one of the Silver Springs boats, and this virtual narrator will be able to introduce in a friendly kind of way the story of water, the science of the water, the challenges and the opportunities for the springs.
I think that the glass bottom boat tour is probably the coolest idea to come out of the Springs exhibit. It gives us the opportunity to fully immerse the visitors into the springs, between, all the new capabilities we have with videography, underwater videography, drone piloting, animation, voice recordings, and large televisions. We'll be able to really fully immerse them in this, not only this new experience, but also a historical experience for springs. People, this is the first way that they were able to explore the springs in Florida when they came to visit at Silver Springs. And so it'll be really cool to replicate, but also build on that experience. And, from the comfort of the museum, this is, you can think of it like virtual reality, but without the uncomfortable goggles. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
So then finally, as you come off of the glass bottom boat, you go into what we call the Recharge Lounge. The Recharge Lounge is a place where it's kind of a double entendre, both the idea that our aquifer is being recharged by rain and groundwater percolating down into the limestone, but we want people to recharge here too. And so sit down, plug in your phones, interact with the media that will be there. There will be a lot of current science here, so research that's going on at the springs will be featured. We'll be able to change that out regularly. And then there's a place for visitors to leave their thoughts, their favorite stories about the springs, their memories, their fears and concerns about Florida's water. So just a place to relax and learn more about the science and leave their thoughts for the future.
Wow. I guess being a diver, and really thanks in large part to Wes and Tom, I feel like I owe these springs a great debt, as we all do. I mean, Darcy, you and your team, they've done really a wonderful job bringing the mystery of our karst environment really to the surface for all of us to see. How's that old adage go? What is it? It's whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting over. We better start working together to keep these water resources intact. I think this museum exhibit will take us a long way in that direction.
This is about a $3 million project, and I don't know if that sounds like a lot or a little to you. In the world of exhibits, it's actually a really good price. As a point of comparison, we did an exhibit for early childhood and families, our Discovery Zone exhibit a couple of years ago, and that was half the size and $2.5 million. So it is a really good price. We have about $1.1 million of private funding in hand or pledged, and then the museum is contributing $500,000 from our own reserves, and we're looking for the rest. So this is a moment for me to make a shameless advertisement to encourage you all to support the project. We do have naming opportunities available, and we really are just so pleased to be partnering with Rotary on this project.
Do we have your support?
You got my support.
So I'll just wrap it up there and say, we're very passionate about this project. I know many of you are passionate about Florida Springs and Florida's water and the future of water in Florida. We have about over 200,000 people visit the museum every year, so there'll be a lot of people who see this exhibit. And of those 200,000 people, most of them are from Florida. About 78% are from Florida. And of those Floridians, about 48%, or nearly half, are from Alachua County. So there'll be a lot of locals, a lot of Floridians, and of course, a lot of tourists as well. School kids come to the museum. Last year, we had about 15,000 school kids. So there'll be a lot of children being reached both here in person, and we do a lot of virtual outreach to schools around the state, and water will be one of the stories that we share with those kids too. So thank you so much for your support and your engagement with the project. We're really looking forward to making this happen.
Hi, I'm Jimbo Skiles, Wes's brother, and if Wes was still with us, he would have loved that, and he would be all over this new Springs exhibit at the museum. And speaking for him, I'm asking you to step it up. And I know it's been a tough year for a lot of folks, but every little contribution is going to help the museum get to the goal of building this new wonderful exhibit. Whether it's a $10 donation or if you're able to give a $100 donation, please, we've made it as simple as possible for you. You can use the link below. You can send us a check. And 100% of, again, your donation is going to go towards the construction of this project. So remember the efforts Wes put into educating everybody about the Springs, and help us continue that message through this beautiful new Springs project. Thank you.
Earlier we said that we hoped you would join us and our sponsors in supporting this wonderful new exhibit. The story of Florida water is our story, and it's your story. It will be told to our children and your children, and we hope it has a happy ending.
Please visit the link below to show your support. All those who registered and made a donation prior to tonight were entered to win a drawing for a sponsor prize. Additional pledges made tonight will also be eligible for a sponsor gift in our grand prize to the largest pledge in excess of $500. We will contact you directly if you won. Thank you to the following donors for the prizes: Florida Museum of Natural History, Adventure Outpost, Jenny Springs, First Magnitude, Scuba Monkey Dive Center, Terry Skiles, Fracture.
Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you at next year's Wes Skiles Water Stewardship Awards. In the meantime, I want to urge you to dive in with us. Please make your pledge today.
Okay, Wes, what'd you think about that?
Unreal. That was just out of this world.